Okay, so continuing interpreting scatterplots, but now we'll focus more on talking about direction. Okay, so far we saw that SEC football. Okay, so what we've seen so far is a positive direction. Okay, but there can also be a negative direction. So that positive direction we'll call a positive association. Okay, and that negative direction we'll call a negative association. So a positive association is when above average values of one tend to accompany above average values of the other, when below average values also tend to occur together. Where with two variables that have a negative association, that's going to be above average values tend to accompany below average values in the other variable. Okay. So here I'm kind of talking about that mean with that Julie and somebody else question. It was the first one where we are identifying our response and explanatory variables. Okay, so kind of same idea here. So what we're looking at is the percent taking the SAT being our explanatory variable, and then our mean math score. This would be more of a negative association. So you could see that it's kind of following a downward pattern here, okay? It also doesn't really appear to be all that linear either. Okay, so we would definitely see that there is a negative direction here, okay? It also appears to be slightly curved rather than linear, okay? And it does seem like it is kind of strong because most of the points are not really too far from the pattern, whether that be curved or from the form, whether that be curved or linear. They're pretty much all fitting that pattern. So it's safe to say that we can explain this as a moderately strong negative curved relationship, okay? It's strong because there's not too much difference from that pattern. The direction is negative because it's going downwards, so you're talking about your above average values are accompanying your below average values, so your the higher the percent taking the SAT, the lower the mean math score is, okay? And it's curved as opposed to linear, okay? There's more to talk about here. So the one thing is that there are possible outliers here that fall outside of the pattern, okay? We didn't see it too much with the other one, but this could possibly be an outlier here, here, maybe here even, okay? So these are kind of the only few that are falling outside of that real curved pattern that we see, okay? The other idea was that you could kind of see clusters as well, okay? So there are these kind of two distinct clusters that are going on in this, okay? You got your clusters here and your clusters over here, okay? So if we wanted to talk about what that might mean, okay? So there are two widely used college entrance exams. That's the SAT and the ACT. So each state usually favors one over the other, okay? The ACT states cluster at the left and the SAT at the right. So in ACT states, most students who take the SAT might be applying to selective colleges that might prefer the SAT scores, okay? This select group of students has a higher mean score than the much larger group of students who might be taking the SAT in those states, okay? So those clusters, there's usually an explanation that can be behind the clusters that happen in a scatter plot, and we'll be talking about those as well, okay? All right, so I want you guys to work through this problem with me. So what we have here that we're going to create a scatter plot, okay? So manatees, it's about manatees, and we're kind of looking to see is there a relationship between what happens is they get killed by boats, okay? They get caught up in their propellers, okay? So we're looking to see is the number of boats registered. Is there a relationship between the number of boats registered in Florida and the number of manatees killed by boats? Okay, so you guys have a much clearer picture in front of you of the data. So what I would do is I would put the video on pause and I would practice a scatter plot of this data. Okay, so you can do that now. Give yourself a few minutes and then play it back. And when you're done with your scatter plot, you should end up with something that looks about like this. Okay. And now we're going to want to talk a little bit about or interpret what we see here. Okay, so let's describe what we see in this scatter plot. Okay, and so then that's going to be a lot of the same things that we've seen, right? So the first thing that we're going to do is we'll talk about the association, so the direction of this, okay? We can see that there's clearly a positive association, okay? It definitely would look like the more boats that are registered kind of connects directly to the amount of manatees that are killed, okay? So the more boats, the more manatees are killed, okay? Then we'll talk about the form. So the form of the relationship is linear. I mean, you can clearly see there's no curve here. Looks like a linear pattern, okay? The overall pattern follows a straight line from the lower left to the upper right. Now we'll talk about the strength. So the strength here would also be strong. I mean, if you look at what I had, I don't really see anything that would strike me as a departure, okay? And pretty much nothing really is deviating too much from your linear pattern here. So pretty much everything is close here. That's going to tell us that it's a strong relationship. Okay guys, so we're going to end this video here and we'll start talking about correlation in the next one.